Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Parkside Cabin Rentals. Folks, May is coming, and May is a spectacular month to get to Sevier County in the Smoky Mountains because it's that tweener time. Spring breaks are over. Summer vacations haven't started yet, so you can go take advantage of all the attractions, all the restaurants, all the good stuff to do up there without all the traffic, not all the lines. Yes, Parkside Cabin Rentals, that's where you stay when you go to Sevier County. Nobody has more cabins. They have dozens of cabins. You go to their website, which you see right there on your screen. You can check the layouts, pick the one you want, pick the location you want. Bing, bang, boom, you're in there. And free parking whenever you drive into downtown Gatlinburg. That's what you get with Parkside Cabin Rentals. Nobody does it better. Okay, we talked receivers in the last segment. Let's talk about pass rushers in this segment. I want to know if we are expecting too much from two guys who, whenever you mention pass rush, it always comes back to, well, Byron Young and Tyler Barron. Well, Tyler Barron and Byron Young, back and forth. So let's take a look at the numbers from last year. Here were the only four guys on the team who had more than 1.5 sacks. You had four of them. And one of those, Matthew Butler, is set up to be a mid-round pick in the NFL draft. So he's gone. Take his 5 sacks out of the mix, his 8.5 tackles for loss. That leaves you Jeremy Banks, who was team leader, Byron Young, Tyler Barron, those guys coming off the edge. My question, are we expecting too much in terms of a step forward for Young and Barron? Now, Young brought it on later in the year. It took him a while, but he got going. Do you expect Tennessee's pass rush numbers to be better, to be worse, to be about the same? Mr. Cavaleris.
Well, I tell you what, they've said it's a point of emphasis, and Tim Banks has said that, but I wrote it down, guys. You were 103rd in the country in allowing the opposing defenses to convert 42% of the time on third downs. You have got to get that number down. And, you know, you losing Butler is a big thing. They're talking about Elijah Simmons. I think you can be a little bit better because it's 5.5 sacks is your team lead, right? And you had 2 players with that. And I don't think it's going to be a whole lot better.
Not appreciably better.
Not appreciably better, but it is a point of emphasis. And they're talking about getting off blocks and doing things like that. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things you can talk about. I think it can be a little bit better.
I think it'll be a little bit better, too. And part of the reason is I think actually their best pass rusher in the spring has been Roman Harrison. And a lot of people talking about him. He had back-to-back sacks in a sequence in a scrimmage. He flashed certainly in the scrimmage we saw yesterday with the ones. And I think if you had a third guy in that mix, and he's in those dime packages as well with both Young and Barron, I think you're going to see, and Amari Thomas, I think you're going to see him jump into those stats and be among the team leaders. Also, Byron Young from the get-go being there, I think you'll see more productivity from him too.
So you think they will have better numbers?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, did you see what Chuck did, everyone?
Cavaleris?
I believe they can. They can have better numbers. They can't. He does this all the time.
I got faith in him, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say maybe. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what these shows are made for.
It's possible.
Yeah. I think they'll be better. I think Byron Young could have a much better year because he has a full off season, having played in the SEC. Last year he's making the junior college transition and then didn't get to start out in games with the team. If one of the newcomers can add some kind of role, James Pierce, Joshua Josephs, then you may have a little more depth than we project right now. That actually, though, is in the maybe category. I think Jeremy Banks is interesting to watch. Do they have more ways to get him into the opposing backfield? If that's the case, then I think they're clearly better.
Bob?
Okay, I'll be the negative.
I was about to say,
Thank
it's
you.
kind of the sunshine out here.
I thought last year that Matthew Butler brought a lot more to it than just his 5.5 sacks. I thought he was your best interior lineman. You know, yeah, if Young develops, I think that's a big if. I think by this time, Barron has been maybe a little bit of a disappointment when he was being recruited and, you know, he was going to Kentucky and everybody said this is an NFL first-round draft pick kind of talent. So that's one where I think the offense can replace the receivers and do just as well. I think here you're fishing around, and so it would not surprise me if they step back. So I'm going to go. I think they'll be a little bit worse. Plus, your DBs are a little bit worse, which means maybe your receivers get open a little bit quicker. maybe the passes come out a little bit faster. I wasn't impressed by the pass rush last year.
Yeah,
You had to bring Jeremy Banks had 5 sacks for a reason.
right,
Because you had to bring
him.
him.
Yep.
A lot of secondary guys. They
Yeah.
brought.
I mean, that's the thing. That's a good way of looking at it. I've been looking at it all spring, last few weeks when we've talked about this. Pass rush to me is huge. Everyone looks at the
Yes.
secondary. There's so many questions in the secondary. I think you got a better bet of getting there at the front and impacting the pass more than you do on the back end. I just don't know what to expect back there. But you make a good point. If guys are open back there,
Right.
Yeah.
you might not have as much time to get to the
And
quarterback.
in losing Butler, at least, guys, isn't there a lot of talk about is an Elijah Simmons?
Yeah.
That is a big change, looking to, is
Yeah.
a help there.
Very good. All right. When we come back, we're going to go live over to Lindsey Nelson Stadium if technology allows, and I hate technology. We'll do that next on the Sports Source. Come on back.